Good evening. I want to talk about small within large. But I was wondering if you know this man. You've never seen him? No. His name is Jos de Blok. He's Holland's best managing director. And nobody knows him. Interesting, isn't it? And I will tell you why he is the best manager of the Netherlands. He has 7,000 employees. I listen out very well. He has no management team. He has no managers at all. He hasn't staff offices. He hasn't had management meetings at all. But he has 600 teams where they do the work. So that's the small part within the large. I just put it as an example. We have also the opposite, of course, and the opposite is that you always stick to the plan. You don't look what's really going on, you just look to the plan, that's a lot there, and then you see what's going on. And it's not in one street, they do it in more streets. You see what I mean? And that's what I call big within big. Don't look after the small things in life, what really matters. Yes, this is called in English factory farming. It's even more worse than in Dutch. Factory farming, and you see here a factory, and that's always about large. But when you look to the animal, you see that effectiveness and constantly do mean projects or something like that don't help the animals, and I think that the dignity of the animals becomes worse and worse. You recognize that too? You recognize it? I hope so. And I wrote a book about that, and it's called, in English, it's called Human Livestock Management. And it's about the concept of size in relation to dignity. That's what it's about, because when we look to organizations, you always see that you have farms. So this is a factory farming for cows, but you have also other farms. You have different kind of restaurants, but you have also different kinds of banks. But normally when you're a naive consumer, you don't look at how the organization is inside. But they're all different. And that's what I want to talk about. They're all different. When I ask people, please draw up your organization, they always make a rake structure. You recognize that too? A rake structure. And you look at history, then you see the rake structure was for the first time used for the army. So, what we structure with line staff organizations is that we structure, say, an organization for military uses. And we still do. Hardly everyone does when asked, how is your organization organized? And interesting is that you know what it is for now. This is verdun. And you see, a war is not what we want. But we still do. So I try to find a solution to escape to this kind of organizations. That's what I'm trying. And what I found is a lot of organizations, for example, Finex in The Hague, and I found Semco, in Brazil, you have probably heard of it. And you have Handelsbanken from Sweden. It's also a very interesting company. And Morningstar in California, and also Buurtzorg Nederland, healthcare, neighborhood healthcare. And that's the company of Jos de Blok. And what's interesting is that they have one secret in common. They have one secret, and I tell you, one secret in common. You see what they did? They get rid of the rake. That's what they did. That's what they all have in common. And that's interesting. Because when you talk about what we call the Rhineland way or the Rhineland model, you see what's happening is that we return and leave organizing with professionals. They have to do it for themselves, without managers and without staff services. And that's the big difference. And for example, when you look through Buurtzorg Nederland, neighborhood healthcare, you see that they reduce the cost with a half. And they get from the clients and from the employees, they got a 9 of 10 points. Isn't it amazing how that can happen? Can you imagine your own organization working like this way? And it can. But 100 years ago, there was the first management book. And in the first management book, we had there a guy, it's called Fred Taylor. And Fred Taylor said on page 2, in the past, man has been first, but in the future, the system must be first. And I think at that time, we changed human beings in human resources. And you have departments for that, you know? Human resources management. And that's very interesting. So he changed the world radically. That's what we should realize. He changed the world radically 100 years ago. And thanks a lot of things, because now we have a lot of wealth, good things we can buy, and we're rich. But I think now, 100 years later, we got a little bit problems with Taylor. And on the 30th of April this year, our new king did the oath. And he said, I serve the community. I serve the community. He didn't say, I serve the system. He said, I serve the community. And I want to look straight with you to say what our bankers' oath, the Dutch bankers, has to do this year. And because it's a TEDx, it's important, and it's in English, so all the bankers worldwide can see the Dutch oath. Yes? Please read it with me, so they understand what's going on. Because in the oath, it's not longer systems first, but community first. So I'm proud now to be Dutch, that we can say our bankers are the first who said community first. I hope the bankers realize what they did. Okay? I swear that I will exercise my profession with integrity and with care. I swear to carefully consider all the bank's clients, shareholders, employees' interests, as well as those of the community the bank is active in. You see? Not only the shareholder, the stakeholders. The stakeholders. I swear during deliberations to always place the interests of the client at the center and to advise and inform them as accurately as possible. Isn't it beautiful? I really hope they do. And probably you said, but is it necessary? I think, yes, it's necessary. When we look to, for example, Lehman Brothers, or we look today to the paper, what Apple is doing, serving the system with their tax strategy. You understand? And for example, it's a picture from China during the Olympic Games. So it's not normally that companies serve the community. They serve themselves and the shareholders. What was happening? I think what was happening is in organizations, the craftsmen became part of the toolkit of the managers. That's what happened in the stake structure, the rake structure. That's what happened. So, below in the organizations, there you have the craftsmen. I call it, they are part of the down under collection. Yeah? And what did they do in the Rhineland way? The organization is part of the toolkit of the professionals. You see? It's 100% the other way. So the professionals, the organization is part of the toolkit of the professionals. So what did Jos de Blok? Jos de Blok start a new company, but what he did was amazing. He gave the organization back to the professionals. That's what he did. He gave the organizations back to the professionals. So they can serve the community. They got a 9 from the clients. So they can serve the community. So it's time for change, I think. It's time for change. We go from tailor-made, large scale, to tailor-made. Small scale. And I think, you know Einstein, you can solve the problem with the thinking that has created the problem. That's So I think we can go change organizations the next 100 years. The next 100 years. So I think we should dream big, but act small. And we no longer are dependent on critical success factors, but I think we are at 100 people, so we are critical success actors. Thank you very much.